Hello, this is Sarah from the Mount Airy branch of the Carroll County Public Library. Thanks for joining me for Digital Collections Bootcamp this afternoon. Today we will discuss how to learn a new language with Mango Languages. Mango Languages are available as part of CCPL's online research collections. To get to Mango, hover over Collections and then in the Digital Collections area, click Online Research. From here, you'll see that the online research databases are sorted by category. To find Mango Languages, we'll scroll down to the language learning category, and here you'll see Mango listed. Just go ahead and click that link, and you'll be prompted to enter your library barcode number. This ensures that you are a card-holding library patron, and once you enter your barcode for your library card, so that's going to be all the numbers on the back with no spaces, you'll be able to proceed to Mango Languages. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that in my device, and if you're following along, you can go ahead and do that too, and then we'll pick right back up after we've entered our library barcode. Once you've entered your library barcode, you're now ready to access Mango. If you already have an account, you'll log into that account using the email or username and password that you set up. If you don't have an account, you can set one up right now by clicking Sign Up, and then you'll be prompted to set up an account and provide an email address and password. I'm going to go back for just a minute. Another option you have is you can use Mango as a guest. This is actually a pretty cool way to check out Mango without having to set up a password, so you can make sure that there's a language you'd like to learn and that you really are down with the format and are really interested to go. So if you click Use Mango as a guest, you're prompted to pick your language. So let's say I'd like to learn French. It's something I never learned. And you'll see you're logged in as a guest user. A cool thing about creating your session as a guest user is that if you decide you really enjoy Mango and you want to save your progress, right from inside here, if you go to this arrow and hover, and then you can create a profile, you can create your profile right then and create your account. So even if you decide that you don't want to create an account right away, Mango does give you the option to create a user account. So that's actually pretty cool. I'm going to go out ahead and log out of a guest user account, and I'd like to show you what a screen looks like once you log in. It'll be similar to what we just witnessed with the guest user account. I have my own account open in another screen, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. So here's my account. You'll see since I've already selected a language I want to learn, I'm set right now to Spanish Latin America. However, if I wanted to switch my language and work on a different language, I could click this back arrow here, and that will allow me to switch and work with a different language. So the cool thing about Mango is that there's over 70 languages you can learn, and you can learn multiple languages at once. So I've never done any practice in Mandarin, so I'd like to learn Mandarin. I'll click Mandarin here and say Start Learning, and it'll start me in a Mandarin lesson. If I want to go back and continue my work on Spanish, because I'm trying to toggle on and off what I'd like to do, I'll just click the back button here again. Under recent languages, you'll see it'll have the most recent selections I've made. I'm going to go ahead and click back to Spanish Latin America, so I select that language here and click resume. It'll take me right back to where I was in the Spanish Latin American course. Now we'll take some time to do a rundown of what's available when you open and work on a course. So you'll see in the top left-hand corner that this is where it'll tell me which language I'm working on. So I'm working on Spanish Latin American. If you're familiar with the language that you're starting a course on, one of the cool things you can do is you can take a placement test. So before you begin for the first time, as you can see, I've done a little bit of work, so it's already placed me. But for the first time you're taking a course, if you want to sort of, if you're familiar with a language a little bit, but you still feel like you have a ways to go, if you click here and take a placement test, that will lead you through some steps. You go ahead and hit start. It'll lead you through some various steps, and then it will place you within the Mango languages lesson. It'll actually put you in the unit that it feels you most closely resemble. So that's kind of cool. So, you know, a lot of people sometimes are like, oh, I don't want to go through a bunch of stuff that I've learned in the past. That's okay. That's what makes this placement test available from Mango unique, in that you don't always have to start at square one. Sometimes it's nice if it's been a while, but you don't have to. And then if I click placement test and I'm not quite ready for it yet or whatnot, or like in this case, I'm just showing you I can X out of it. It'll say I lose my progress. That's okay. And we'll go back here to the main page. So for each course in Mango, there's a list of units over here on the left-hand side. So as you can see, Spanish Latin American has 5 units. And then within those units, so here I've clicked the first unit, there are chapters. And then within the chapters, there are lessons. And it always tells you at the top what you have to look forward to. So in introductions, I have 4 chapters and I have 39 lessons. So, the nice thing is you can go really anywhere in the lessons. You don't have to start at number 1. Of course, the lessons are going to build on each other. So particularly if this is brand new to you, you probably are going to want to start with number 1. But because I was familiar with Spanish and I decided not to take my placement test, I started with chapter 1, but I could go through these different lessons here under the Unit 1, Chapter 1, or I can also just go right to a listening, and this is a listening comprehension quiz, and you play you'll hear a script playing, you go ahead and hit play, and then you can answer questions as you go. So that will give you a gauge of where you are in terms of auditory understanding of your language. So for instance, if I want to start this, I'm going to be talking, so I'm not going to be paying too much attention, but I would hit play, and then as it goes, I would go ahead and answer these questions. And again, I can just exit out if I'm done. It'll say, okay, it looks like you haven't saved anything. Yes, I'm sure I want to exit, but if I had started, I could resume. Likewise, there's a reading test, which I actually have already taken. And if I want to do that, I can go ahead and click start. I'll read the script here on the left-hand side, and then here on the right, I can answer questions about it. So that's really nice. Here you can skip through the different parts. I can play. So it's a nice way. And again, this is saying, hey, don't you want to save it? No, I don't want to save right now. But that's a nice way to borrow your skills or make sure your skills are up to where you want to be. Another great feature for each unit and the chapters within the units are what's called the recap. So the recap enables you to practice everything from that chapter. So I'll go ahead and click on recap. It'll give me the goals I'm working with. I can click start and it'll lead me through. It'll be very similar to a lesson, but it'll let me recap what I have learned. And I'll go ahead and X out of that as well. So let's take a look at what a sample lesson would look like. And even once I've done a lesson, I can redo it. So here you'll see that I have the first lesson checked off. That's okay. I can go through it again. So we'll go ahead and click the button for the first lesson. So it'll give me a quick tutorial about what I'm learning. So one of the coolest things about Mango is that it is based on conversation-based methodology. So really it wants you to hear what you're learning so that you can not only say it correctly, but also hear what it would sound like if somebody who was a speaker of that language natively, what they would sound like when they're speaking. And that's important, because even if you can read what it looks like, if you don't know pronunciation, you're still not going to be able to communicate as well as if you know what it's going to sound like. So this will just be a brief tutorial about what we're going to be practicing. I'm just going to go through this very fast, but you could read that in more detail. And one of the coolest things that Mango does is it enables you to compare your voice. So you'll hear different phrases or words to practice. You can record yourself saying it, and then you can record. You can see basically a meter of how your voice and the inflection that you use compares to somebody who is speaking it fluently. So we'll go ahead and hit continue. There's going to be goals for this lesson. I'll hit start.
Here's the conversation we'll be studying in this chapter.
Hola, ¿cómo está usted?
Buenos días. Estoy bien, gracias. ¿Y usted?
Estoy bien también, gracias.
¡Qué día tan frío!
So you'll see
Now,
it's going
let's
to
learn hello. Ready?
Hola,
Let's hear it again.
hola.
So if you click this button, you can do a voice comparison and record yourself. This does a pronunciation, and here you can replay it if I didn't quite catch that.
Did you notice that although
Hola.
starts with the letter H, it is not pronounced? The letter H is always silent in Spanish.
So in addition to practicing pronunciation, you're also going to get grammar notes. So these are really helpful. You're learning not only what it sounds like, but you're learning, sort of how that fits in the grand scheme of, in this case, Spanish, Latin American Spanish, as an overall language. So you're really getting great context. I'm going to go ahead and X out of this right now. We don't need to go through the whole thing, but that's kind of what a lesson looks like. It leads you through. There's always arrows. You can go back and forth. You can replay. It's really scalable to how you learn. And another thing to keep in mind, in the upper right-hand corner of every chapter, there's going to be goals. So if you are homeschooling, this would be something you could use to figure out goals for your students. So I've suggested that to homeschooling parents in the past. If you are having someone work on a language, this would be a great way to figure out what some of their lesson objectives might be, because it gives you conversational and grammatical goals. So that makes this a great option for homeschoolers. If you want to learn a language, you can keep track of goals. Here on the left-hand side, not all languages have this, but some do. I know Spanish does. I believe French does as well. There are what they call specialty units. So each one of these units, you'll see the main units are things like introductions, connections, community. Specialty units focus on a specific subset of communication. For instance, here's medical. So if I wanted to look at medical information, there are going to be chapters in this unit about talking about different ways to communicate about, here in this case, diabetes, medication and dosage. So it's really nice if there are specific units you want to focus on. Depending on how you are going to be using your language going forward, those can be quite useful. So that's the main learn section of the Mango Languages screen. There's also Explore. Now, Explore isn't necessarily available for every language. It's usually the languages that sometimes get a little bit more publicity. So Spanish, Latin American, I believe French has it available as well. But this gives you a way to view some videos in that language. So if I click on Mango Premiere, you'll see that this is a whole host of different videos, and they're all film-based videos that I can learn from. For each, you'll see a rating, and I'll show you under Family Profiles how you can have different content ratings for different members of your family. If I click More Info, this will tell me more about the video I'm watching, what it's talking about, and I can watch that video as well. And when I watch, I'm going to hit play. It'll open in a new tab. Oh, looks like I would need to update Flash, so we're not gonna take care of that right now. But you can, for each video you watch, you can also choose the subtitles. So you can have it show you the subtitles in, so for instance, in this case, Spanish, or I can have the subtitles going in English if that helps me connect what they're saying in Spanish to the English. It's really either way that works for you. So I'm going to go back to available content. So Mango Premiere, again, is a newer thing. They're always kind of expanding the offerings, but it's definitely something to check out if you're interested in, heightening your skills. And right now, that's what they've got under there. And then tools here is the last big section of taking a course. And really, tools is a translation tool that is based on the Google translation engine. And here you can do some quick translation. So I'm going to click back here to Spanish Latin American. And if I wanted to, I could switch out my language. So I'm not going to right now, but that's how I could do that. I'll go ahead and click back to learn, and here I am back at the beginning. One thing I would suggest is as you go, it's always kind of cool to, if for each unit, you can click here and that'll open each one of your different chapters. So that's a look at how to take a course in Mango. You'll see there's always tutorials. There's very clear guidance for how to work through a course. So give it a go. It's a great way to learn a language and get immersed in that. So now that we've talked about the basics of working through and taking a course in Mango, I'm going to go over a couple features that you can use to tweak the experience and make it even more useful for yourself. Those are going to be family profiles and activities, which are available in the menu up here. See, if I hover over my name, Mount Airy Library, it's my name, I'll see your profile, which will just give me my basic information about the email address I'm logged into. Organizations, that will tell me which library system I'm using this program with. Family profiles, which we're going to go over, and then activities, so you can see the activity for each one of the profiles in your family. So that's a great way to get a gauge of how everyone is doing, if you, particularly if you're homeschooling, or if just as a family you've all set a goal that you'd all like to learn Spanish by, I don't know, sometime when you were planning to take a trip, or, just for the fun of it. Having those profiles and being able to monitor that activity are great ways to scale the use of Mango languages even more to suit your needs. So let's go ahead and click on family profiles first. So right now I just have the main account, which is Mount Airy Library. So if you were the person who had started the account for your family, you would just have that. And then under that, I can add family profiles. The max number of profiles you can have for an account are 5 profiles. The nice thing is, I'm going to click add new profile. So this will help me create a profile. For each profile, you give them a name, and each profile is assigned its own unique username and password. So on the login screen, when you log into Mango, each profile can log in as just that username and password. So that's a way they can track what they are working on, but you're not in competition or comparing yourself with anyone else because you're just logging in for your profile. And then each profile, I think I mentioned when we talked about Mango Premiere that Mango does do content ratings. If I click the I button, I can learn about their content classification, how they, when they rate something as all ages, what that means, what ages 8+ means. So definitely check that out before you set up a profile, especially for a child. You want to make sure that you set their content privileges to the setting that you think best reflects what you would like them to have access to. But anyway, you can go ahead and set that that content profile. So MO plus is going to be everyone. This is ages 8 and up, ages 13 and up, and then this would be adults. So that's a really cool thing. So let's say under Mount Airy, the Mount Airy Library umbrella, I'd like to have my own profile just for myself. So I'll name it Librarian Sarah. My username will be Librarian Sarah, and I'll give myself a password of Mango. Again, this is just, I'm probably, got to be at least 8 characters long. Mango, mango. And I want to give myself just appropriate for all ages content. And I'll go ahead and create profile. So it'll say, thank you, a new profile for Librarian Sarah has been successfully created. When I go back to profiles, I'll see myself, this first profile listed here. You see I have 1 family profile, and then there are 4 family profiles remaining. So as I said, you can have up to 5 unique family profiles on there. And then if I wanted to come in and do some work as Librarian Sarah, I would sign in with that username and password. So that's a really cool way to sort of set everybody up with their own username, so they feel some, sense of ownership for their course, but you can also keep track and kind of keep an eye on what everyone's doing. Particularly if you're using this for a homeschool solution, that's a really great way to do it. And then the other feature I wanted to talk about is activity. So activity shows an activity report of what you have been doing on Mango. So it'll allow you to keep track of the time. So for instance, if I say to myself I want to work 15 minutes a day on Spanish for librarians, I can see, these are all the different things I've done recently. But I could add that time up to myself and keep track of how much time I'm doing, keep myself to my goal. If I had taken placement tests all the way through, or if I had taken the recap or either of the reading or listening quizzes at the end of those different unit chapters, then I would get information on my score, as well as what unit and what chapter and which course it was in and when I did that. So that's a really great way just to sort of track how you're doing. You can show a date range for that activity. So if I wanted to see what somebody had done in the last quarter, or it's automatically set to a month, you can do that as well. If you're interested, you can also download a file that you can work with later. So that's really great if you need to keep a list of how you're doing in terms of time. So that's my activity. Again, if I had the different profiles doing different activities, I would see that information by the profile below. But those are just a few tools you can use to sort of, make Mango work even more for you. Additionally, I have done some research online, and I did happen to find some online language learning resources that Mango's put together. They don't have it for all their languages, but they have it for some. I will put the URL for this link in the comments of this video when it's posted. So the website is mangolanguages.com/resources/languages. And if I go to this page, I can see there's a whole host, and it uses cookies. There's a whole host of language learning resources, not for all 70 plus languages, but there's different downloadables and things you can work with for some of these languages. Useful phrases, you'll see here from French, videos downloadable, additional resources. German has some as well, Russian, Latin American, Spanish has 107 additional resources. So for instance, if I click downloadables here, these are, here's the course outline. So if I want to go through and check off as I'm going, course structure overview. So that's really nice. Nip back for a second. Useful phrases. So it'll give me airport. So here's crucial airport phrases and vocabulary. I'm going to click on airport, and here are some different phrases I can use. I can listen to them. Here's the English. I'm a tourist. Here's what it would be in Spanish, soy turista. And then phonetically, if I wanted to check my pronunciation, I would say soy turista. So there you go. So those are some useful additional resources that I looked a little bit for to find some. So those are just supplements to, as you can see, it's not all the languages, but just some of the languages. So they're great things to check out, particularly if you want to, print out, say, for instance, that list of phrases from the airport and use it on your travels. Again, that's mangolanguages.com/resources/languages. And like I said, I will go back and add that to the posting when this video is posted to Facebook. So that's Mango. Give it a whirl, give it a shot, try something cool. One of the neatest languages they have, just to throw this out there, I'm gonna click back, that I was excited to find under all languages. I mean, there's just Aramaic is here, which is really interesting. But they also have Shakespearean English, so that's fun. I can't remember. I think, yep, they also have pirate. So, there's some serious ones, and then of course there's pirate. So that's a fun thing to do. And when you're all done taking your course for the day, you just hover over your name and click log out. And there I am. I'm back at that screen. If you have an Apple iOS device or an Android device, Mango also has an app available. CCPL makes it easy to find the apps you need. Hover over Collections, and then in the Digital Collections area, click Download Our Apps. You'll see at the bottom the 2 apps available for Mango languages are listed, and clicking each one of these links will allow you to download the app for the device of your choice.